Hello, listeners. Been wondering how you can help the show? Probably not. But here are 5 things you can do. 1. Subscribe. Support the show by clicking the subscription link in the show notes. 2. Review on iTunes, on our website, www.afraidofnothingpodcast.com, or on whatever app you listen to. 3. Donate. When you go to our website, click the cute coffee cup icon. Or in the show notes, click the subscription link. 4. Share. Sharing really is caring. Tell your friends and even your enemies to check out the show. 5. Watch. Wait a minute, it's a podcast, not a movie. Actually, it's both. Check the show notes to find out where to watch the documentary. You can also rent it on Prime Video. That's it. Oh, one last thing. Enjoy this episode. Tonight's podcast was sponsored by TrulyDivine.com. Thank you, TrulyDivine.com.
In a world where nothing is known, nothing is certain, reality is not real. Wake up! Be afraid of nothing. I'm Bob Heskey.
Robert.
The host with the ghost.
This is my podcast, based on my paranormal documentary, Afraid of Nothing. Each episode, we talk to people who see life and the afterlife through a different lens. Join me.
Who is this large man? And what's he doing in our bedroom?
As we lift the veil and open our minds to see beyond our eyes lie. This is Afraid of Nothing.
If 2020 was rough, tonight's guest is all about righting your ship. About a year ago, I kicked off my podcast with 2 episodes with a shaman from my documentary Afraid of Nothing, Brad Little Frog Hudson. Well, I brought Brad back to kick off 2021. Brad is a shamanic healer and teacher, multidimensional energy healer, best-selling author on Amazon, and an ordained minister. Brad is also a mean barbecue pit master and runs the mega-popular Hubba's Real Pit Barbecue in Westford, Massachusetts. Brad's website is www.littlefroghealing.com. After our documentary launched, Brad was getting a few emails a day from people seeking his help. In tonight's episode, Brad talks about the past year, a little slump he had as a shaman, and how some of the entities are getting tougher to deal with. Now energized and refreshed, Brad is back and better than ever. Hey, Brad, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bob. It's great to be back. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I mean, you kicked off this podcast last year for me. We did like one interview, but we broke it into 2 episodes. And you're my first guest in 2021. So how's that for karma?
I love it.
That's awesome. We'll do this every year, right?
Yeah.
Blew my mind, Brad. I get stats, from Buzzsprout, and I did 42 episodes, which I knew, but that was 2,084 minutes of content. And for all those minutes of content, there's probably 8 to 10 hours for each of those episodes that I did to edit. I really did nothing but podcasts in my spare time this past year.
Fantastic. You did a great job, too.
Thanks. Well, because of great guests like you. Hey, let's talk about 2020. I mean, a lot of emotions, a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, and I'm sure your antenna was way up. How did it unfold for you this past year? Personally, I would imagine like your clientele rose a lot, but also for like you in terms of picking up on the sensitivity, how did it affect you?
It was a rough year, but it was a rough year for everyone. In my real life, running a barbecue business, I had ordered a new smoker last November from Dallas, and it was supposed to be delivered in April. Well, I didn't get it until the beginning of July because they couldn't get steel because of COVID. So I was just one of millions and millions of people who were inconvenienced by the whole thing. But it was very interesting to me that my spirits told me what was going on from a spiritual aspect. And I found this fascinating. And what they told me was that Gaia, Mother Earth, reached its limit with humanity. And just as humans have immune systems, our planet has an immune system. And it kicked in. And that result was COVID. The intention of Gaia, would be to reduce the population in order to reduce the stress on the planet. And I know that, we've heard varying reports over the past year of air getting better, water getting cleaner, the ozone hole getting smaller, all very positive trends. And it will come to a close, but it's going to be another 2 years. This coming year is not going to be it's going to be better, but it's not going to be great. And then next year, we'll see the residual aspects of this. And then from a client point of view, gosh, I'm usually the healer of last resort, meaning people come to me when they have exhausted all other avenues. I do no advertising. It's just word of mouth and spirit directing people to my website. And I had a lot of people contacting me throughout the year, more so than normal. And when you released Afraid of Nothing, I was amazed at how many people watched this, because my clients tripled overnight. And they were all saying that they saw me in Afraid of Nothing and they were attracted to my energy, or they were attracted to the things I said, or I just felt right to them. And so they reached out to contact me, and for various reasons. I found myself this year, in prior years, I would do mainly depossession work, that and clearing houses, or houses, property, and things. This year, there was a huge increase in the amount of people that just needed specific things healed in their bodies. They weren't looking for depossession. They were looking for just general overall health. I attribute some of that to the fact that COVID has made people with questionable health issues scared to go out, scared to go to the doctor, scared to go to the hospital. So they were looking for alternative means of healing. It was also interesting that from mid-November to mid-December, I had no clients at all. Every now and again, Spirit puts me in a down phase, a yin phase, where I'm just regrouping, I'm receiving downloads, but I'm not doing any healing work. It's a rest and recuperation kind of thing. And that happened this year for a solid month. And I reached out to a couple of my peers and asked them if they experienced the same thing, and they did, which was very interesting. And the message that we all got from our spirits was that we were receiving downloads pretty much on a daily basis. I found myself awake every night between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. And of course, that's when the veil is the thinnest. There were a lot of new energies coming in. We've got a lot of solar flares happening, and all sorts of new stuff's hitting the earth. And that was affecting myself and other healers. But I will say it made us stronger, and it gave us what we need to work with over the next period of time, which I would imagine to be about a year before they will shut us down for maintenance, so to speak, and give us more information. It's been a strange year. I've been blessed to be able to help many more people than usual, and I'm so thankful for that, and thankful that my immediate family is safe and healthy.
So when you say you get downloads, do you know what the message, what the training is as you're getting the download? Or do you have to wait until it's in you and processed, and then do you kind of realize a couple of days later what you were receiving?
A little of both, but mainly not knowing what I'm getting until it comes time to use it. Prior to the middle of November, I was running into clients that had attachments that were so malevolent, I was having a very difficult time removing them. And that never happened before. So when the download started, I knew that I was receiving information because they put me to sleep. Even if I'm wide awake, if I sit in a chair, they will put me to sleep. And I have little tiny memories of disjointed bits of information that they shared with me. So I know that I received something. I just don't know exactly what it is until I am in a situation where I need that information, such as removing a very malevolent spirit from someone, and suddenly a new way of doing it pops into my head, which is the download manifesting itself. It's pretty cool because the spirits always know what I need and they always know the right time to give it to me, even though I may be impatient at times.
You say you talk to other shamans. Do you share like trade secrets and how do how you handle certain situations? Or is it just unique for each shaman? You got to kind of fend for yourself because it's your own journey.
The people that I stay in touch with, we do share information, but I need to make something clear, and that is that we all had the same core shamanic training through the Foundation for Shamanic Studies. However, that gives us the basic framework from which to work our shamanic practice. And what I have found is each one of us then takes the information we were given and molds it into a process that works for us and may not work for other people. The perfect example of this is 2 weeks ago, I was talking to a shaman friend in New Brunswick, Canada, and I was explaining to her how I move these beings out of humans. And she shared with me how she works with similar circumstances, and they were not similar in the least. She had a completely different way of approaching it, which worked for her and which is fantastic. But I tried it and it didn't do anything for me. So much as there are a zillion different healers out in the world with a zillion different approaches, that's because, we're all different. And what may attract you, Bob, may not be the same thing that attracts me to a healer. So by having so many different people with different methods of accomplishing the same task, it kind of ensures that everybody has someone they can go to for help. And I feel that's very, very important.
You helped me recently and then like a colleague who had touched an Ouija board and this weird stuff happened. And it's always like funny because I'll say, well, did it work? And she had a couple things going on and she was like, I think so, but things got better. And then they're just kind of like, I think it was that because, yeah, things got better. I was like, well, it worked. And I know I was going through I felt like a lot of negativity. I talked about it in my last podcast, actually, for a span after there was an Ouija board that we got. You did a nice clearing for me, very helpful. So, yeah, those are two cases right there. I'm curious, like you said, you used to do house clearings. During the pandemic, do you have to be at a house to clear it? I imagine you have to be at a house to clear it, right?
No, I do that all remotely. And the reason that I can, myself and all shamans can work remotely is we are working on the spirits of whatever it is we're working on. So normally, if I'm doing a depossession on someone, I am working on their spirit body. So for me, in order for me to find somebody's vibration, because, don't forget that the universe is nothing but energy.
Yep.
So we here on Earth in the third dimension are just slowed down energy. That's all matter is low vibrational energy. So for me to find somebody's energy signature, I need their first and last name and their town and state, and that's it. And then I can reach out. I find their spirit body, but their spirit body is in what I call non-ordinary reality. It's not in the third dimension. It is somewhere else. There is no time or space where I work. So that's why I'm able to do these things remotely to help people. And to address what you were saying about what I did for you and the person who was working for you, yeah, it's not like after I do my work, somebody flicks a switch and they're just all better. It's a gradual process. I always like to say it takes 3 or 4 days for all of my work to really show itself, because since I work on the spirit body, that work must migrate from the spirit body into the physical body. And if someone is very spiritually awake, that will happen instantly for them. And they will feel like a switch was turned on for them. But for the vast majority of people, that's why it takes 3 or 4 days before they really realize, yeah, I feel good. And then there's always the case of the person I clear who has been under the spell of that demon or malevolent spirit for so long that feeling normal is just too weird for them, and they go back to being possessed. And they do it because they want to. They don't like the feeling of being normal anymore.
I have a question for you. You talked about energy. Everyone vibrates energy. What's the difference between love and energy?
That's a great question, because people don't realize that love is the strongest force in the universe. Divine love is what I use to do my work. That's what I use to remove these demons. And there is no other force in the universe greater than divine love. And that's why I tell people, if you're ever unsure about where you are and what you're doing and things don't feel right, then visualize yourself surrounded by a bubble of pure divine love. And for most people, that's just a white bubble, white light. Divine love is actually a pale pink, but the divine doesn't get that concerned about colors. If you're thinking divine love and you make it white around you, that's going to work just fine. And I discovered that by mistake, purely by accident, when I was ghost hunting before I became awake. When I was out in Virginia City, Nevada, and a ghost tried to follow me out of one of the buildings, and I put up a wall of divine love. Or at that point, I was just calling it love. I wasn't calling it divine love. But I just visualized a wall of love, and they couldn't walk through it. So love in general is energy, and it's a wonderful thing, especially when we leave here to go to our true home in the fifth dimension. You know, I died once in 1983 of a cocaine overdose, and when I left my body, I can't put into words the feeling of peace and love that I felt when I was moving away very rapidly, until I was stopped and I heard the voice say, "It's not your time." And boom, next thing I knew, I was lying on the floor of my hotel room again. Love is a fantastic thing. If we live a life of joy and love, we will have everything we want without even thinking about all the rest of what goes into life. People always ask me, how do I manifest money? And, you know, according to the law of attraction in Abraham, the best way to manifest money is to be happy and joyous. Don't think about money, because if you're thinking about the lack of money, you cannot then carry the vibration of an excess of money, because both vibrations cannot exist simultaneously. So if you're thinking about a lack of money, you're telling the universe that's the way you want to stay. But if you're just happy and joyous and just go through life every day with a big smile on your face, everything will fall into your lap. And I've seen it happen, and it's happened to me.
So, Brad, is that like losing weight is a bad way to look at it? I don't want to lose weight. I want to be this weight. Is it like that? When you put your request out to the world, it's not like I want to lose 50 pounds. I want to be XYZ weight.
You just touched on, my biggest problem, because I'm overweight.
Mine too. Yeah.
And yeah, I started a company in 1995, and I sat behind a desk for 20 years and put on 100 pounds. So I'm dealing with that right now. But you're absolutely correct. You don't want to say, I want to lose 50 pounds, because if you lose something, you always want to find it, because we don't generally lose things on purpose. And most of us, if we do get to the point where we lose some weight, it comes back, and a little more comes back with it. At least that's my experience. So saying something like I'm releasing my excess weight or something along those lines, keeping the law of attraction information first and foremost in your mind, yeah, it's challenging to come up with a way to say that.
Yeah, and you have to field your request correctly. We're going to go into abundance in a little bit, but I want to talk about energy, make sure I have this correct. Energy makes up the whole world that we're in. The most positive energy is love. Love is a form of energy. And the difference between love and divine love is the most powerful love of all, correct?
Yeah. I mean, our love is powerful too, but divine love would be absolutely supreme. And we're just not at the level to be able to exude divine love on our own. Now, when we're home in the fifth dimension, we are gods as we are. I mean, here on earth, we are creators. We're made in the image of the divine. We're creators here. We can make things happen that we want to happen pretty easily once we understand how. And when we're home, we have every ability that the divine has. In shamanic journeys, we would go to the feet of the divine, and we would have to sign little slips of paper promising that we'll return, because it is so wonderful and magical and marvelous, and words just can't describe it, that sometimes you don't want to return. You just want to stay there. And it's pretty uniform in all the NDEs that people talk about, their near-death experiences. I think pretty much to a T, they all say they didn't want to come back. And I sure didn't want to come back.
Yeah.
The feeling was incredible. It'll bring tears to my eyes sometimes when I think about it.
"2020 was a rough year, but you don't have to let your past dictate your future. With the new year, it's an excellent time for a fresh perspective. And astrology and numerology can be powerful tools for self-awareness and self-discovery. But who do you trust? TrulyDivine.com is dedicated to assisting you on your path to greater self-awareness, understanding of others, and emotional healing. Their mission is to deliver clarity into your life, relationships, and overall direction. Ask yourself, has life become stale and redundant? Do you feel like life isn't going anywhere or things will never change? Do you want to understand the motivations and emotions of family, friends, or others in your life? Are you unknowingly provoking your own or others' emotional triggers, keeping you and your relationships trapped in toxic, repetitive patterns? Are you repeatedly attracting the same kind of individuals into your life? Are your relationships truly making you happy? Truly Divine can help. Our natal birth chart analysis is approximately 65 pages around your unique birth chart. It's very in-depth and easy to understand. Plus, you'll receive 25% off with the discount code DISCOVER. That's all caps, DISCOVER. Relationship analysis is also an excellent tool for revealing how you interact with another individual and how to overcome challenges in your relationships. Instead of feeling like life is dragging you through the mud, make the decision to control your own reins and maneuver your direction in any way you feel fit. It's your life. It's your journey. Let TrulyDivine.com be your North Star. Go to TrulyDivine.com today. That's TrulyDivine.com. Yeah, I had an uncle who was my dad's older brother. Interesting guy, kind of a rough edge to him, would fight at the drop of a hat, more of the protector, wanted to be in the service, but had health problems with his eyes or his hearing or whatever. But if he had your back, he always had your back, right? And so he, not super religious, but when he had a heart attack, I believe, and he had one of those experiences, and he actually, there was this article, I think in Reader's Digest or something, that Dr. Raymond Moody wrote about near-death experiences. And he sent it to my father, and he highlighted in yellow things that happened to him. And because he said, Ed, which is my dad's name, Eddie, I think you have a fear of death. I just want to tell you I went through this, and I highlighted what I went through, it was kind of all that stuff. I had it somewhere. I don't know if I gave it back to him, but it was such an interesting thing. It was like an excerpt from that article and highlighted in yellow and his little handwritten notes on it about what he experienced. So it was crazy. So yeah, you're right. A lot of people have that. We can't leave this interview without talking about demonic depossession. Is there anything, because everybody has a hunger for that. That was our first episode, heading towards 600 downloads of it now. What did you experience? Anything interesting or particularly unique this year regarding demonic depossessions?
Well, yeah, I reached that point in October where the people coming to me had attachments so powerful and so malevolent that I couldn't do anything. And these poor people, their lives are being completely changed and turned upside down. And, as I mentioned, a lot of times I'm the healer of last resort. And these people have gone through a dozen other healers and spent gobs of money trying to get better. And I wasn't able to help them. I was flabbergasted. I was a little upset because I wasn't used to being in that position. But I also found that just by working with these people, I was getting attacked a lot more. And
really?
Oh yeah. Right now, I'm pretty much under attack 24/7. Every time I sit down to do work, the first thing I have to do is clear myself and clear my home. And even if it was 2 hours earlier, I still got to do it again because they're coming in. Now, the good thing is that whatever it is that they send to me, I'm able to clear it from myself, but I wasn't able to clear from my clients.
So, quick question: did you know when a client comes to you and wants a clearing? Can you walk us through that process? And also, did you know it didn't work while you were doing it? Did you have some doubts, or were you surprised to hear after the aftermath where they called you and said, "No, I'm still having these issues"?
Yeah, a little of both. Sometimes I'm surprised, and sometimes I just have the realization. I just know that even though I can't find the being, I know it's still there.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the next day, the people will call me and say, I had an awful night and it's still there. A lot of times I can get rid of them for a day or two, and then something comes back. Now, some clients will unconsciously or subconsciously call the attachments back, and they don't even realize they're doing it. I have to take that into consideration because I'm probably generally about 80% successful. And out of that remaining 20%, realistically, about 10 to 12, maybe even 15% are sabotaging themselves. But that still leaves, at least 5% of the cases that come to me where it's a being that I just haven't run into before.
Is this like a virus, like a better? I mean, as an example, is this like a smarter strain that's evolved itself? Well, if they're sent to the light, they're sent to the light. So I wonder how other entities know how to linger and protect themselves or hide themselves or whatever they do. Do they hide, or or is it just what you throw at them doesn't work?
Yeah, some of them do hide. Okay, so let's go through the process. So a person contacts me, they tell me what's going on, and I ask them if I can look in on them. So they give me their name and their location, and I put the phone down, and I quickly connect with my spirits, and I look at them, and I see if there's anything there. And 9 times out of 10, there is. So they'll tell me a little bit more about what's going on so that I understand more about what this being is, because there are, different classes, and there's human spirits that can attach to humans. And then, of course, there's these otherworldly spirits that can attach to humans. But in addition to the spirits attaching, there's also portals in our energy bodies. We have beneficial portals and we have non-beneficial portals. The non-beneficial portals are how the critters go in and out. So the first thing I have to do is identify and locate the hidden and visible portals, non-beneficial portals. So I have to close them permanently. Then I go after the beings themselves. So first I have to go after the hidden non-beneficial beings. Then I go after the non-beneficial beings. Sometimes in that short period of time between closing the portals and going right after the beings, sometimes these critters open up another portal and I don't know about it. So I go through my process and I look to see if there's anything left. And sure enough, there's still a critter there. So I'll do it again. Well, it's still there. Do it again. Still there. It shouldn't be there after one time of doing it. Then I go back to the portals and damn, there's a portal. So I have to close that. And then I try and get back real fast. So the beings that don't have any experience with me, they usually stick around because they're like, yeah, no human is going to be able to mess with me. But they don't realize the level of spiritual support that I have behind me. And, because these are the guys that do the heavy lifting, my spirits. So they get a little cocky and they'll stick around. And then the next thing they know, they've been crossed into the light. Sometimes after a critter's been crossed into the light, they have a way of identifying humans whose defenses are pretty limited and almost like putting an X on their back or something. So other beings will come in and take up residence there. And, they may be related to the one that was sent to the light. I don't know. But I do know that they're very aware of what humans they can take advantage of, and they will take advantage of them. Then when I go in, and if I've had experience with this particular species of demon or whatever before, that's when they'll get tricky. And maybe they leave for a short time, or they create a portal and jump out, and they jump back in after I leave. there's a lot of different circumstances. And lately I've found myself needing to go back in 2 or 3 times in order to complete the work. Let's say I go back in 3 times and I'm removing critters every single time. Well, pretty soon these critters decide it's not worth it. We're going to lay off this human and we're going to go find another human that doesn't know Brad Hudson. And we'll take advantage of that person.
Did you work through that bad streak, that slump that you were in?
Definitely over the hump. People are coming to me now with nasty stuff, and I have a new technique that I was shown that's working very well and is moving these more difficult critters. There's a lot of really nasty stuff out there, Bob, that wants to just chew us up and spit us out, to put it bluntly. They don't care about us. They just want to come in, use us for our energy.
What would you call these? They're not ghosts, right? Are they dark entities, shadow people? What would you call demons? What would you call them?
Demons.
Demons. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they're the ones that I was having problems with, that I'm no longer having problems with, are entities that are ancient. They are eons old. They do not remember their true form. They don't think they have hearts. They do, because anything to be alive in the third dimension had to have been created with a heart. With these demons, though, their hearts have been reduced to mere cinders, but they still exist. The cinders are still there. The beauty is, when I'm able to cross them, they revert back to their true form, and they then can take up their eternal work once they're back home. And that's a cool thing. So for millions and billions of years, these things really just did whatever the hell they wanted to, and they became more and more evil as we know evil over time. But in a span of 10 minutes, to be able to send them to the light, to revert back to their true natural form and take up their long-awaited work, is a beautiful thing. It helps the being. It helps the human, but it really helps the being too. So it's really a win-win situation for everyone.
We're going to talk about abundance in a minute. We'll wrap up talking about abundance, but before that, let's address the film, which was a long time ago, or it was like 3 years ago, the Afraid of Nothing documentary. And I'm sure your process has evolved a lot since then. When we did the screening about a year and a half or so ago, you said you totally changed your process. So you had a lot of people. You had mentioned, you sent me a couple of emails, which I was glad to hear. Like, you were getting a couple of emails a day from people looking for help, which is great. So far more people were positive and drawn to you than were, as always. I found, like, on my first film, Blessed, it's always the negative people that leave reviews. It always pisses me off. It's always the negative people, the cretins that can barely put a constructive sentence together, that will write a review. And all the people that say they watched it and liked it, very few leave a positive review. That was my first film. I had 170 plus reviews, and a lot of them were good, but there are a fair amount of people that just wanted to put a nail in your coffin. And it's the same thing with Afraid of Nothing. You were early on in that, and you were kind of a target for some of the reviews, which I thought was unfair. So I just wanted to take a moment for you to respond to it, because I know you. I know how you've helped me and you've helped others. I also know they may say, "Oh, that looks dramatic. He's just being dramatic and doing it for show." But I also know, and a shaman has rituals and processes that they do, and it's not like you're processing this in your mind. You actually, it's kind of physical sometimes when you deal with these things, like in a Ouija board that you cleared, which was what you just said. You cleared it for critters. You went back. There's more. You cleared it again. We actually edited that way down, but you spent a good 10 plus minutes there trying to get rid of all the entities, and we lost sound. We had all this weird technical stuff happen. So just want to pause there and give you a chance just to address some of which you probably saw some of the reviews. And I'll say again, you had a lot of people that really liked you and were drawn to you. Even on this podcast, people said Little Frog sold it for me, etc. But what about the naysayers, beyond like the blunt attacks where they would take it to someone's physical appearance, or whatever? How would you respond to some of the reviews that you saw?
I was shocked when I first read the reviews for Afraid of Nothing, and I stopped after about 10. Many, many people were making fun of my physical features and whatnot. And, that stuff's fine. That doesn't bother me in the least, because I'm one who preaches, don't let what other people think of you determine who you are. Just ignore that kind of stuff. But the parts that got me were people that were attributing things to me that I never said or claimed. And I'll just address one of them, and that is the fact that so many people wrote in there that, why are you appropriating, Native American culture, and you're not Native American, and you should be shot and drawn and quartered for this, and blah, blah, blah. I never once have said or claimed to be Native American or that I use Native American practices. I don't. Native American shaman, are called medicine men. All medicine men are shamans, but not all shamans are medicine men. So that was about the only thing that I took offense at, was the fact that people were attributing things to me that I never said and you never said. But I know where all of this comes from. And this is actually really important. I'm glad you brought this up, Bob. It all stems from fear. Fear is our greatest limiting belief. There should be no fear in our world. According to the book A Course in Miracles, there's a great quote in there that goes, and I'm paraphrasing, if you knew who walks beside you on your journey through this lifetime, fear would be impossible. And that's because each one of us has so many helping spirits helping us every day. They surround us, but we can't see them. But for the people that left these really nasty reviews, every single one of those reviews was caused by fear. These people don't understand what they saw, so they lash out. And they only know one way to lash out, and that is to make fun of what somebody looks like, going back to, third grade or something. That's really disappointing. There is such fear in our world. Everybody is scared of everything, and especially right now with COVID, and rightly so. But there are ways to handle and mitigate the potential liabilities. And the one thing that you got to remember about fear is fear causes worry. And this is very important. Worry, when you worry about something, you are thinking about an event that has never happened. Yet, you are putting that out to the universe. And by the law of attraction, the universe takes your thoughts, processes them, and turns them around and creates your reality out of it. So fear can lead to unnecessary worry about a specific event, the possibility of a specific event occurring, and you can, just by thinking about that, then cause that to happen. And, there's no reason for worry because you're thinking about something that's never happened. And I'd like to bring up a quote from an Indian wise man, and I don't know how to pronounce his name, but it looks like Sadhguru, Sadhguru. This is a really important quote, and it goes, "You cannot suffer the past or future because they do not exist. What you are suffering is your memory and your imagination."
Oh, that's right.
That is so profound that the first time I saw that, which was very recently, in the past 6 months, it stopped me dead in my tracks. Because all of us are always thinking about, things that we've screwed up in the past and mistakes that we've made, and we don't want to make those same mistakes again. But maybe some people might become obsessed with some of the mistakes that they made in the past, and they're suffering as a result of it. They're just memories. Or once today is over, it becomes yesterday, and it's gone. The only thing that matters is the ever-present moment. This moment that you and I are sharing right now is the most important thing in the universe for us. And we need to remember to put things in perspective and realize that all of these things that we did in the past do not matter. Because every single day that we wake up, the clock is set back. We get a chance to redo everything. Every morning that we wake up, we're starting a new day, And that gives us the opportunity to change the way we do everything. And that is so important to remember.
That's a great segue to what we should talk about wrapping up the show is looking at today, which is now the clock is turned to 2021, and we've gone through a lot of adjustments this past year. Let's talk about a couple things you think people should be mindful of in 2021. And I know we can't tackle abundance in like 10 minutes, but just maybe point them, throw out a couple tips and maybe point them to your book or something else that can help them with that journey.
Sure. I think that if there was one thing that I could get across to people for this year, it would be manifest what you want out of your life. And that is so easy to do. And I'm going to cover it in the next 5 minutes for everybody.
Sure.
The law of attraction states that thoughts are real things, and because our universe is comprised of energy, we are energy. We're just slowed down energy. But when we're in our true home, we're just energy consciousness. Our thoughts have a vibration. They go out into the universe. The universe picks up our thoughts and then uses our thoughts in order to create our reality. So each one of us is responsible for the lives that we live. You can't go around saying the universe isn't fair or life isn't fair. It's very fair. But unfortunately, we're not given these rules at all. We should be taught this stuff in elementary school. But it's very easy to apply the law of attraction. Because human minds are so diverse, we think, I saw something one time which said that the average human thinks about 50,000 different things in the course of a day. So the law of attraction can't manifest 50,000 things for us every single day. What the universe has done is they've instituted a 17-second rule. And that 17-second rule means that if you think and concentrate about something for 17 consecutive solid seconds, that gets the universe's attention, and the universe starts putting whatever that thought was into motion to deliver it to you at some future unspecified time. 17 seconds doesn't sound like a lot of time, but if you sit down and clear your mind, it's actually takes some practice to be able to hold the same thought for 17 seconds without other things bleeding into your thoughts. Once you have mastered that, though, what I tell my clients is, okay, 17 seconds gets the universe's attention. However, 10 times 17 seconds, which is under 3 minutes, makes the universe sit up and go, whoa, Bob was pretty serious about that. I'm going to accelerate this for it, and I'm going to put this in the fast lane. Now, that's one time of thinking about something for 170 seconds, just under 3 minutes. If you can do this 10 times a day, 10 different times of 3 minutes each, the universe sits up and goes, holy cow, Bob really wants this. I got to call FedEx. I got to get my act together because I got to deliver this to Bob really fast. And you do that every single day in order to get what you want out of your life. And this applies to a new job, a new car, a new relationship, a new home. It applies to anything that you want. I'll give you a real quick example from my own life. I play guitar, and I had an amp for sale on Craigslist one time. Very nice amp, but for 6 months, I didn't even get a, hey, will you take $50 for it kind of response. I got zero response for 6 months. So one night I'm on the internet and I find these handmade amps in Seattle called Sodanos. I spent 2 solid hours researching them, thinking about them, listening to them. 120 minutes solid, just immersed in these things. And I really wanted one. I went to bed. When I woke up the next morning, the very first email in my inbox was a guy from 2 towns over who wanted to trade me his Soldano for my amp. And I met him 2 hours later in a Cracker Barrel parking lot, and we swapped amps, and we were both happy.
Wow.
But that's the power of the law of attraction. That was because I spent 120 minutes, solid minutes, thinking about this thing. So just imagine if you can spend 30 minutes a day in little 3-minute increments, daydreaming. That's all this is, daydreaming, the stuff we got yelled at in school for, right? This is, if you want a new job, identify what the job is that you want, and then daydream about it constantly. Imagine yourself pulling into your parking space, walking in, greeting everyone in the morning, grabbing a cup of coffee, standing around the water cooler, talking about what was on TV last night, seeing clients in your office, going out to lunch with your coworkers, seeing more clients, getting in your car, leaving for the day. Visualize that 10, 15 times a day, every single day, and you will get that job. I've used this so much in my life that it's no longer a miracle to me when it happens. It's just like, oh yeah, I knew that would happen because of what I did. And it seems like magic at first, but it's not. It's just the way that our universe is programmed. So if you want abundance, you want that nice house and that nice car and that good job and perfect spouse, you can have it. You got to do a little bit of work for it, but all we have to come up with as humans is what it is we want and why we want it. Okay, now the what it is going to vary from individual to individual, but the reason why we want it is the same for everyone because it makes us happy. And that's all the universe cares about. The universe wants us to be happy. What about the how? How is this going to happen? That's not our problem. That is the universe's problem, not our problem. We have very limited resources to make something happen, but the universe has unlimited resources. We all know that person who says, oh my God, I was sitting at home the other day and the phone rang and out of the blue, I got this offer for this great gig and it was exactly what I wanted. And they don't put two and two together and realize how they got it, but it was because they thought about it so much and the universe brought it to them. It happens all the time. So I really encourage all of your listeners to use this in their daily lives to make themselves happier and so they can experience more joy.
In the intro, I mentioned that you're a best-selling Amazon author. You've written a couple books. I think one of them was on the topic of abundance. Do you mind sharing a couple books that you've written and where on Amazon they could find them? Because they're really nice short reads. And I wonder, are you thinking about doing another book in the future? Or?
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Bob. I wrote 3 books in 2014. They're not real long. Each one's about 70, 80 pages. The first one was about my depossession work, which is really out of date now because I don't use that process at all and haven't for many years. The second book was about the 2 vision quests that I went on, where I was out in the wilderness by myself with just a sleeping bag, a tarp, and a notebook for 4 days and 4 nights, no food. And then the third one, I believe, is what you're referring to, which was called The Truth About You, Who You Are and Why You're Here on Earth.
Yeah, that's it. Yep.
And that not only has what I just talked about as far as the law of attraction, but tells you about the angels that you have assigned to you, tells you how to get rid of your past. There's many, many concrete tools in there that you can start using immediately. And I would also like to plug another book. Oh, by the way, those books are on Amazon. They're Kindle ready. You have to type into the search engine Brad Little Frog Hudson to find them. But I would like to talk about another book real quick called Infinite Possibilities by Mike Dooley, Dooley. It's kind of a dumbed down version of the law of attraction. Easy read. He's a very good writer. But the reason that I love this book is that he, just about every other page, has some kind of tool that you can start using right away to manifest what you want to make it a perfect life. And it's an enormously important book for people who want to change their life.
Now, if you were going to write another book yourself, it's been like 6 years. It's been over 6 years now since 2014. Is there a topic that you're thinking about that you may want to get to at some point?
Probably. I'd like to write more about depossession because it's so misunderstood. Because I'd like to address how the Catholic Church addresses exorcisms because they do all that stuff the wrong way. They go into it as a battle. You're never going to win a battle against a demon. Ain't going to happen. But using divine love will work. But yeah, I would like to educate people more about these otherworldly stuff that can affect them here on Earth. And I would also like to expound upon the manifestation of your perfect life and give them more information. I mean, when I wrote that book, it's almost bullet points. I made it so that it wasn't going to take you 3 days to read it. I wanted you to be able to read it in 30 minutes. But I also wanted the important stuff to just pop. So I only put important stuff in it. There's no filler. But I think that I've reached a point where there needs to be a little filler. There needs to be some explanatory prose so that people understand it more.
I read that a while ago, a long time ago, actually, when we first met, and that was really well done. You just need to do a voiceover for these because you got this great voice, you know. So if you should do that one, and you should write a couple more books. I'm throwing that out into the universe to you, my friend. You should write 1 or 2 more books.
Thank you.
That's what I think you should do. All right, well, Brad, that's awesome. So look, someone's listening to this. They have had a rough year, and maybe they aren't at wit's end, but they think they need some help.
Yeah.
How would they contact you? What's the best way to do it?
Well, first of all, I'd like to say to these people, please, please don't be frightened of contacting me, because these people that have these problems are so brave when they pick up the phone to call me, or so brave when they type an email to me, because they've realized that they have a problem and they need help and they don't know what to do. I mean, they're scared to death. They've lost so much of their lives. It's a very tough position to be in. You can contact me through a form on my website, which is www.littlefroghealing.com. You can email me directly at littlefroghealing@gmail.com, or you can call me, 978-590-0186. And I take calls every day between 11 a.m. and 7 p.m.
What about text, Brad? If they write down, like if they're jotting down, if you could say your phone number one more time, is text a good way too to reach out to you?
Sure. Text is good. I'm 63, so I'm that generation that isn't as good with text as, my 21-year-old son, but I'll do my best. 978-590-0186. Even if you just want to call and just chat about what's going on, these people don't have anyone to speak to about this, because very few people, even other shamans, don't understand what's involved with depossession, or possession, rather. Just for these people to know that there's a comfortable shoulder for them to rest their head on, and a available and willing ear to listen to them, sometimes that just means the world to these people, because they can't tell their spouse about it. They can't talk to their family about it. Everybody thinks they're nuts. But when they get me on the phone, I'll say, oh yeah, you know what? I've heard that 100 times before, or I've heard that 1,000 times before. You're not alone. And that brings up a good point, because, 60% of our population has attachments. There's no question that people, at least half the people that are in mental institutions are there because of attachments, not because of a problem with their brains. But modern medicine doesn't understand nor realize that. They're starting to, but not to the level that we need yet. If you're listening to this and you need help, then by all means contact me. I will do everything I can to help you. That's what I do now. I left a business that I started. I walked away from. I started it in 95. I walked away from it in 2014, just so I could be of help to people 24/7. And that was a difficult experience to walk away, but it's also the best experience of my life, because every single day I get to help people.
You were in my film, the Afraid of Nothing documentary. I'm glad you're getting some traffic out of it. I hope you keep getting traffic from it, and also from this podcast. I certainly recommend they give you a call. And thank you again you kicked off my podcast last year. I'm in year 2. I'm going to give it another run this year, and you helped me launch it. So you're a friend of mine. You've helped me, and the paranormal has brought us together, which is cool. So I wish you health, happiness, and that you meet all your resolutions for 2021.
Well, thank you very much, Bob. And I can say the exact same about you. You came into my life through your daughter, and you were a non-believer.
You had to throw that in.
Everything changed. And you made a wonderful documentary, and you've been so kind to me, and that has helped me. And you deserve all of the success that you're now starting to realize with both the documentary and the podcast. And I hope that things just keep blowing up for you, because you're a heck of a nice guy. I think you're great at your craft. I'm just absolutely thrilled and honored to be a part of it. And I hope that 2021 brings you nothing but happiness and joy and health.
Well, thank you, my friend. I look forward to us getting together at some point without a mask, and whether I go to your hub or BBQ pit and have some brisket or something, or we just go out sometime and go to a haunted house.
You've been listening to the Afraid of Nothing podcast. Please subscribe and like us on Facebook. Until next time, stay scared.
Hey, you're still here? Great. Then why not listen to another episode? Visit afraidofnothingpodcast.com to peruse all the shows. That's afraidofnothingpodcast.com. And while you're there, click the coffee cup icon to buy me a coffee and leave a review. I'll give you a shout out in an upcoming episode, and the world will know how swell you are.